I'm Jenny Kendler. I'm the artist who created Field of Vision. I'm an interdisciplinary artist and an environmental activist, and I'm the first ever artist in residence with environmental nonprofit NRDC. Field of Vision is a public art project at the intersection of science and activism. And with the project, I'm aiming to re-enchant human beings' relationship to nature through our 5 senses, but most importantly, our sense of wonder. Field of Vision is part of a public arts initiative that was commissioned by the city of Louisville to reconnect citizens with the nature all around them, most especially this underused river walk, which as you can see is not a very compelling place to spend time. So when I did my site visit, I saw joggers and cyclists just passing by. They didn't stop, which is a shame because if they had, they would have noticed what I noticed, which is that butterflies were using the river as a highway on their search for food. In the case of these monarchs, they were probably looking for milkweed. You may know that monarch butterflies are dependent on milkweed, but unfortunately 90% of them have disappeared as Roundup has killed off their only food source. So this is the project that I came up with, Field of Vision. It's a butterfly garden, but it really goes beyond the traditional idea of a butterfly garden, becoming a sculptural planters of reclaimed wood, with native high nectar yielding wildflowers that provide food and egg laying sites for pollinators, especially monarchs. And I also wanted to provide a site for human beings to reconnect with the natural world and see what was going on all around them. And moreover, to connect these two populations, pollinators and human beings. And I decided to do this through the sense of vision. So, you may know that human beings see the portion of the spectrum called visible light, which is actually a really anthropocentric term because lots of other species see well beyond that. In fact, butterflies see deep into the ultraviolet spectrum in colors that we human beings can really only imagine. But wouldn't it be amazing to see in butterfly vision? Back at the site, it wasn't long before people started to show up. We had office workers walking from downtown to share their lunch with pollinators and monarch caterpillars. But you're probably thinking, wait, what does ultraviolet light have to do with this? So the garden has one face during the day, but at night it undergoes a really miraculous transformation. So when people come to the site at night, using ultraviolet light and fluorescing elements, the garden provides a pretty magical experience of seeing in butterfly vision. And because a glowing butterfly garden isn't cool enough, I also partnered with NRDC to create postcards. So once we got people to the garden, they're excited about pollinators, we wanted to give them something that they could do. So we gave them this postcard that they can send into the EPA asking for pesticide regulations to protect both pollinators and human health. And in partnership with NRDC, 144,000 of these messages have gone to the EPA. So I also created adventure kits, which have high-powered ultraviolet flashlights, color-changing goggles, all this amazing stuff to give people deeper experience of what butterfly vision was, and they could pick that up at the Science Museum right downtown. To wrap up, Field of Vision, I wanted people to literally re-envision their connection to the natural world, which I hoped would get them to see their city in a whole new light. The message that I really want to convey to you today is that when we learn to see through the eyes of other species, that it enriches our lives as well. I really hope that this project can become a model for thinking about our built environments in totally new ways, and remembering that when we design for ourselves, we need to leave space for the beautiful others with which we share our fragile and biodiverse Earth. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that at least a few of you can make it to Louisville to be able to experience butterfly vision.
Excellent. Thank you, Jenny. Elizabeth?
Oh, geez. Okay, so one thing that I think is really unique about your project is the idea that you have 2 groups in mind, both the human and non-human world. Can you tell us a little bit about why that's important to you as an artist?
So I've always been deeply interested in connecting with the natural world, and I think that it's really important that we have people working in art and culture that are representing those that have no voice. So in this case, I feel like that's my role as an artist, and that's what I've been trying to do through my work for a long time.
Thank you.
What's the scale of the project, and is it permanent?
Right now, it's a 3-month commission by the city of Louisville, but we have a botanical garden outside the city that wants to adopt it permanently. It's about 36 feet in diameter.
So that botanical garden would keep it where it is?
They would move it to their site just outside the city of Louisville.
Mm-hmm. So the intention is to transform riverfront?
That's correct. So that's the initiative by the city of Louisville, is to get people to, it's walking distance to the city, but because of poor public planning choices, you could see that there was a highway right there. People are not really using the space, so they don't realize 5 minutes from their office building is a really gorgeous natural space where they can watch birds and, connect more deeply with nature. So it really has already changed it tremendously that we've got people coming through all the time now.
I was wondering if you could talk about the community engagement process. So, every step of the way, how you've been out in the community.
So I'm not actually from Louisville, but actually that's an interesting thought, because I started to think about how do I connect with the community, and I really saw that my community was actually the community of pollinators. So again, trying to represent this non-human voice in a human space, and I'm a big animal nerd, and so I researched butterfly vision and learned all about butterflies to try to make that space as attractive to them as possible. And I actually think about it as a project for pollinators first and human beings second, which is maybe a little unusual.
I'd love to know, what would you share with other artists interested in doing similar work, kind of intersecting science and public art?
Oh, great. Yeah, I actually talk about this a lot. So I've been invited to do a number of lectures and talks on how to bridge activism and public art. And I think that my advice to them would be really to just follow your passion, and don't be afraid to kind of cross boundaries in more unusual ways. And just also, it was a kind of an if you build it, they will come situation with this. There's actually a lot of support for public art if you look for it.
And are you looking at measuring impact, and how do you do that? Because there's two different audiences here. There's the people who visit, there's the pollinators as well.
So the impact that I think I'm really trying to create is twofold. One is through this, maybe more obvious direct activist component, which I actually think is extremely important and is not always incorporated in the art world. And so that would be through getting, literally raising people's awareness about these issues with pollinators, getting them to send in the postcards. But also, more importantly, and also like more emotionally close to my own heart, is getting people to really re-engage with the natural world in a sensuous, body-based way, remember that they themselves are animals, and truly have this moment of reset where they realize that they can connect through vision, through scent, through touch with nature. That I guess I'm hoping to transform the way that people look at the natural world, remembering that they themselves are part of it.
And what generated the forms? What inspired the forms?
Oh, wonderful question. It's actually inspired by the ommatidia of a butterfly's eye, which are all hexagonal.
Wow, and with that, thank you.